She walked in like she owned the place. 3 bodyguards, designer suit. That look on her face that screamed, "I've never lost at anything." But she was about to meet someone who didn't care about her 12 million followers. Someone who couldn't be bought, couldn't be influenced, couldn't be managed, and what he said to her in that courtroom? "It's going to hit you harder than you think." The courtroom went silent when Judge Frank Caprio looked up from his desk. Not the kind of silence where everyone's waiting for something. The kind where everyone already knows something's about to go down. 3 men in suits stood behind her like some kind of celebrity protection squad. She sat there, confident, unbothered. Like this was just another appointment she had to get through before her next brand deal. But Caprio, he didn't even blink. He just looked at the bailiff and said 7 words that changed everything. "Get these men out of my courtroom." You could feel the shift. The bodyguards looked at each other like, "Wait, what?" Her lawyer stood up, all professional and polished. "Your Honor, my client is a public figure with legitimate safety concerns." He cut her off. "This is a courtroom, not a photo op. We have 1 bailiff. That's all the security anyone needs here. Your men can wait outside." Her smile? Gone. That confidence she walked in with? Crumbling. Because for maybe the first time in her life, her influence meant nothing. Her name was Sienna Hartwell. At 26 years old, she had everything: millions of followers, brand partnerships, a lifestyle most people only dream about. But she also had something else: a police report, a victim, and a video that she never should have filmed. The charges were read out loud: driving under the influence, causing bodily injury, reckless driving, leaving the scene of an accident, failure to render aid. With every word, she sank a little deeper into her chair. Her lawyer tried to sound calm. "Your Honor, my client is prepared to take responsibility and resolve this matter efficiently." "Efficiently," Caprio repeated, like he was tasting the word. "Let's talk about what happened on November 2nd. Then we can discuss efficiency." Here's what happened. 2:14 in the morning. She was driving drunk. Blood alcohol level 0.13. Way over the legal limit. But she wasn't just drunk driving. She was filming herself. Instagram Live. Drinking vodka straight from the bottle. Laughing. Talking to the camera. Barely looking at the road. Then, she blew through a red light and slammed into another car. The driver? A man named Samuel Okonkwo, a delivery driver just trying to finish his shift. The impact jammed his door shut. He was trapped, bleeding, alone. And she? She drove away. 2 blocks later, she crashed again. That's where the cops found her, still holding her phone, still more worried about her content than the man she'd just left behind. But here's the part that'll make your blood boil. 2 days after the crash, while Samuel was in the hospital with a broken collarbone, a dislocated shoulder, and 47 stitches in his arm, Sienna posted from a spa. "Self-care Sunday," the caption said, "because my mental health matters." When people asked about the accident in the comments, you know what she wrote? "Haters gonna hate. I'm fine." She was fine. Samuel, he lost his job. He couldn't drive. His entire life was falling apart. But she was fine. Then Judge Caprio did something that made the whole courtroom hold its breath. He called Samuel to the stand. Samuel walked up slowly, his arm still in a sling. He looked tired. The kind of tired that comes from working 2 jobs and sending money back home. "Tell the court," Caprio said gently. "What happened after the accident?" Samuel's voice was quiet but steady. "I came to America from Nigeria 8 years ago. I work hard. I save every dollar. My goal was to bring my mother here. She's 67. She has no one left back home." He paused. "I was 6 months away from having enough money saved for her visa application." Then his voice cracked just slightly. "After the accident, I lost everything: my job, my savings. I can't prove financial stability anymore. The visa application is delayed. Maybe a year, maybe longer. But it gets worse. While Samuel was in the hospital, still recovering, a man showed up at his room. His name was Dominic Reyes, Sienna's manager, and he came with an offer, $75,000. Sign an NDA. Agree not to press charges. Stay quiet about what happened. Samuel said no. So Dominic came back the next day. This time, $150,000. And Samuel looked him in the eye and said, "I came to America to work hard and live honestly. I won't sell my integrity. Not for $75,000. Not for any amount." Let that sink in for a second. A man who lost everything, who was offered enough money to change his life, said no, because some things aren't for sale. Comment respect if Samuel just became your hero. Judge Caprio turned to Dominic, who was sitting in the back of the courtroom. "Mr. Reyes, stand up." Dominic stood slowly. All that confidence from before, gone. "Did you offer this man money to sign a non-disclosure agreement and drop criminal charges?" Silence. "Yes or no?" "Yes." "That's witness tampering. I'm referring your conduct to the state attorney general." "Sit down." Then Caprio turned back to Sienna. And what he said next is why this video is going everywhere. "Miss Hartwell, you walked in here with a security detail like you were at a movie premiere. You thought this was just another appearance you could manage. Another narrative you could control." His voice was calm, but every word hit like a hammer. "You have 12.4 million followers. You make millions of dollars a year. But until today, I don't think you've understood what your life actually costs other people." Tears were streaming down her face now. "You drank. You drove. You filmed yourself doing both. You hit a man who was working to support his family. You left him bleeding and trapped in his car. Then you went to a spa 2 days later and called people who criticized you haters." He paused. "And when that wasn't enough, your manager tried to buy Mr. Okonkwo's silence for $150,000. Not because you were sorry, because silence was cheaper than accountability." The sentence came next. And it was brutal. Full guilty plea to all charges. No deals. $85,000 in restitution to Samuel. 400 hours of community service at a hospital trauma unit, working directly with car accident victims. 2-year license suspension. 30 days house arrest with an ankle monitor. Mandatory alcohol treatment. And then the part that hit different. You will post a public video apology on every one of your social media platforms. No editing, no filters, no PR team writing your words. You will look into that camera and tell your 12 million followers exactly what you did, who you hurt, and why you're sorry. That video stays up for 1 year. If you delete it, if you make it private, if you restrict comments to hide it, I will issue a bench warrant for contempt of court." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Your Honor, my brand. Your brand is not my concern. Mr. Okonkwo's recovery is my concern. Your rehabilitation is my concern. Whether your followers stick around, that's between you and them." He leaned forward. "That's not justice, Miss Hartwell. That's marketing." Then Caprio said something to the entire courtroom. Something that needs to be said louder for the people in the back. We live in a world where influence is treated like currency, where follower counts determine who gets heard and who gets ignored, where someone can hurt another person and then go online to shape the narrative before the truth catches up. He looked around the room. But in this room, that currency is worthless. In this room, a delivery driver from Nigeria who works 60-hour weeks to bring his mother to America matters as much as an influencer with 12 million followers. He paused. More, actually. Because today, he's the victim, and she's the defendant. Here's what happened next. Sienna posted the apology the very next day. No makeup, no ring light, no editing. Just her, sitting in her apartment looking broken. She cried through the whole thing. And she didn't edit the crying out. The video got 34 million views. Her follower count dropped from 12.4 million to 9.8 million almost overnight. Brand deals vanished. Comments were brutal. But then something changed. 8 months later, her followers started climbing again. Not back to where they were, but climbing. Only this time, the people following her weren't there for luxury content. They were there because she was finally being real. She talked about therapy, about shame, about the letters she got from drunk driving victims. Once a month, she did Instagram lives with Samuel. They talked about accountability, forgiveness, second chances. At the hospital, doing her community service, she started a support group for people who'd caused DUI accidents, people trying to live with what they'd done. She requested extra volunteer hours beyond what the court ordered. And Samuel? 7 months after that hearing, he got the call. His mother's visa was approved. He stood in the airport with a handwritten sign that just said Mama in big letters. When she walked through those doors, he held her for 5 minutes without saying a word. 8 years he'd waited for that moment. Dominic Reyes, the manager who tried to buy silence, under investigation for witness tampering, no longer managing talent. Last anyone heard, he was working at a car rental desk somewhere, far from the glamour he used to broker. Judge Frank Caprio keeps a screenshot of Sienna's apology video on his desk, right next to a photo of his grandchildren, and beneath it, a handwritten note in his careful script. Influence fades, character remains. Look, I'm not here to tell you what to think about Sienna. Maybe she's genuinely changed. Maybe she hasn't. But here's what I know. Samuel Okonkwo refused $150,000 because his integrity mattered more than money. Judge Caprio reminded us that, in a courtroom, in real life, fame means nothing when you've hurt someone. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is face the truth, even when it costs you everything. Share this with someone who needs to hear that accountability has no blue check mark. And comment integrity if Samuel's story hit you the way it hit me. Because in a world obsessed with followers and influence, we need more people who understand what really matters.